Hi, scholars. Welcome back to library. It's Miss Pina again. Last week, you read or listened to a story titled Vote for Our Future. And it was about not only voting, but like what are little small things that we can do when we're not old enough to vote. Today's story goes along with that same theme. Maybe you're not old enough to vote, but you are old enough, smart enough, brave enough, wise enough to make a change in our world to make it better. You could do that by the little things you do at home, maybe the things you do in your neighborhood, in your community, or in your school, with your family. So, what I really want you to think about as I read today's story is what are those little things that you do that are similar to the things that Sophia does that helps to make our world a better place? All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we're going to get started with our story. Sofia Valdez, Future Prez by Andrea Beatty, illustrated by David Roberts. Sophia was a baby who got things done, helping her family before she turned one. She and Abuelo went out every week to help elderly friends around Blue River Creek who couldn't get out and about on their own and with no place to gather were stuck home alone. Raking the leaves, taking pets for a walk, or just dropping by for a treat and a talk, Sofia Valdez did as much as she could for her family and her friends and her whole neighborhood. A dreamer, a doer, a real life go getter. Most people like good, but Sofia liked better. Each morning, Abuelo walked Sofia to class. They walked home again along Blue River Pass, making plans, munching cookies, Abuelo and a girl, except for that Tuesday when Pup saw the squirrel. With a howl, Pup took off, racing all through the town, over, under, beneath, and around. Sophia scrambled to try to keep up with hollering man and the howling Pup. Up the squirrel ran to the top of a hill made of leftover junk from the local landfill. They reached the tip top of the mountain of trash, which jiggled and broke with an ear-splitting crash. Down they all tumbled and hit with a thud on a moldy old pumpkin surrounded by mud. Ouch, cried Abuelo. He struggled to stand. A dangerous mess, he said, grasping her hand. The next day, Sofia walked to school solo, but it wasn't the same without her abuelo. This is not right, declared young Sofia, who glared at Mount Trashmore and got an idea. The very next morning at dawn, she planted a sign in the front of the lawn. She stood back and smiled, and Pup gave a bark. Get rid of Mount Trashmore, let's build a new park. Each of her neighbors had something to say about benches and fountains and places to play, meeting spots, gardens, a basket for bees, a rubber duck pond, and a kiosk for cheese. She drew every thought on her map of the park, which was perfectly perfect by a quarter till dark. She drifted to sleep in her soft, cozy bed. Then, bam, she woke up when a thought smacked her head. Her heart skipped a beat as she realized each one of her neighbors had said, "Let me know when it's done." They all thought Sophia could build it alone, but how could one girl do so much on her own? The weight of that thought made her tender heart ache as night thunder growled and she lay wide awake. Then dawn brought a storm and the gloomy sky wept, and the heartsick Sophia finally slept. Abuelo baked cookies when Sophie got up. He gave her a bagful and sneaked one to Pup. He blinked back a tear as he hugged his Sophia. For courage, he whispered, te amo mi vida. Sophia's knees wobbled. She felt weak inside. She looked at his ankle and quite nearly cried, though she didn't feel brave or courageous at all. Sofia Valdez went to face City Hall. The mayor's office sent her to room 401, the Blue River Creek Department of Fun, which sent her downstairs to room 302, the Office of Duck Ponds and Cool Things to Do, to the Office of Monkeys, the Department of Cheese, the Division of Fountains and Meetings and Bees, then down to a basement so musty and cramped, where all the town's papers were sorted and stamped. And that's where the clerk said what no one else did. You can't build a new park. You're only a kid. The word smacked Sophia down deep down in her heart. Her plan was kiboshed before it could start. I think, said Sophia, I think that law's wrong. But her second grade voice didn't sound so strong. Excuse me, but her second grade voice didn't sound very strong. The clerk said clearly, it cannot be done. Do you have any questions? Sophia said one. If you were me, and if I was you, and if he was your grandpa, what would you do? Well, said the clerk. Then she said nothing at all. She thought and she thought, then she sent out a call to every employee throughout City Hall. The entire government of Blue River Creek crammed into the office to hear Sophia speak. But her words jumbled up and her cheeks turned bright red as a dozen emotions rushed into her head. Her heart beat so loudly she thought it would crack. The crowd leaned in closer. Sophia leaned back. Then her arm brushed the edge of the old cookie sack. And that was the moment when Sophia first knew being brave means doing things you must do, though your heart cracks with fear, though you're just in grade 2. She took a deep breath, looked the mayor in the eye, and though her knees wobbled, she held her head high. Sophia started talking. She spelled out her plan and why it all mattered and how it began. And once she got rolling, she had lots to say about meeting spots, monkeys, and places to play, and other ideas for things they could do to help the town elders and other folks too. She had thoughts on the library, thoughts on the zoo, and perhaps a way to combine the two. And I want to pause for just a second. Look at all these ideas that she has written down on her paper. Lots of ideas, lots of plans. I love her thinking and that she's being so brave and sharing it. Let's see what happens next. All right, cried the mayor, go start a petition. If the town wants a new park, we'll form a commission. And so young Sophia got right to work with some help from her family and Pup and the clerk. Look at their signs they made. Let's build a park for everyone. Sign our petition. They're getting out there and they're making a change, aren't they? Let's see what happens. Then others joined in, not all but a few, like Miss Lila Greer and the kids in grade 2. I am looking at this picture and I am seeing a bunch of people coming together for a good cause to make their community better. Look at their signs. Scientists need parks. Give bees a chance. Sign our petition, please. A park to think in. Architects for parks. We love parks. We can do it. Let's build a park. Get rid of Mount Trashmore. Somewhere that's green. We need more green. Si se puede. Sign our petition, please. So many people making all these signs and working together to get what they want and need in their community. I love it. All right, let's see what else happens. There were hearings and surveys and taxes to figure, then bulldozers, cranes, and a blue bigger digger. They all built that park. That's how it got done, with the hard work of, by, and for everyone. But it began with a dream of one person, just one, who laced up her shoes and then led the way to help build Blue River Creek get a new place to play. Now every evening till long after dark, the town comes together at Citizens Park. They all hold this true to be self-evident that Sofia Valdez could grow up to be president. Until then, Sophia, that real life go getter, helps Blue River Creek get better and better. Look at all those people from their community enjoying that lovely park that one little girl in second grade had an idea about. So if you think you're too young or you're too small, I'm here to tell you, scholars, you can do it. You can be brave. You can make changes with any small act of kindness that who knows could spark into something bigger, just like Sophia's idea of having a park. Here is a little note from the author. She wrote, "This book is dedicated to you. You are braver than you know and mightier than you can ever imagine. Be bold." Then she also goes on to say, Sofia Valdez was inspired by not one person, but many, some small, some tall, some young, some old, people from every part of the world, girls, boys, men, women, people who saw a problem and worked to fix it, even when it was hard, even when it was scary. Some are famous, but most are not. They took one small step and then took another and another, and they inspired other people. Through their journeys, they changed the world. The illustrations in this book were made with watercolors, pen, and ink on Arches paper. For some pieces, pencils and graph paper were also employed. So that's our story for today. I want you to think about, like I said in the beginning, what are some things that you do to make our world a better place? And I want you to always remember you are never too young or too small to make our world a better place. Also, students, next week is our election to vote a new president in. I want you to think about who is an adult that you could tell and remind them to go and vote. It's really important. It's something that everybody over 18 can do here in the United States if they have all the things they need to be able to vote. So they have to be over 18, they have to be a citizen, and there's a lot of other things that they have to know, but most people over 18 can vote. And I want your job this week is to remind the adults in your life to get out and vote. That's one way they can help change and make our world a better place. But you can be the leader and share with them the things that you do to make our world a better place. Have a great week, scholars, and we'll see you next week.